This is Lance Views. We're going to be talking about, today I want to talk about a person that I knew from a long time ago. I'd say one of the people that I looked up to in the business when I first started out, and there were actually two. Was Professor Richard Walter. Now he's chair emeritus, I think, of the UCLA screenwriting program. And at the time, he was a professor at UCLA screenwriting program. And he's probably one of the most knowledgeable people on writing, screenwriting. Because, I mean, it's what he did for, God, I bet he's doing it for 50 years now. But he's still got everything going on. It's quite amazing, and you've seen him on a lot of the shows, some of the talk shows and stuff like that. Not sure which ones, but a number of them talking about the industry. And it would be interesting. I haven't seen anything from him on AI, which I talked about in the previous video. But I'd like to see what his comments are on it. Mine are that it's changing everything. It's going to change everything quite a bit. And as I said, I still think Hollywood's going to come out on top because they have so many scripts banked that I think they're just going to be able to plug into that. Just have some very skill set of core people, maybe 5, 6, 10 people, and be able to create a movie like they do now that takes 300, 500 people to make. So it's going to be very interesting. I really don't know where I stand on it anymore. I was using it. I still do use it a little bit for visuals because I think it's a good tool, and because it gives you things that you don't ask for, that you maybe didn't think of when you say, "Hey, create a woman on the moon battling some type of monster or some kind of entity," and it will give you things that you weren't expecting within that visual image or images. Sometimes you can ask for 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. It'll give you as many images as you want, and I've done that, like for the Adventures of Louisa Fortune, which is my my homage to Latina Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, The Mummy are the biggest influences on that. And it gave me back some images. I had put her in a temple, and I won't give away too much, but I had put her in a Mayan temple. And what it gave me back was a lot of nothing I asked for. I mean, it gave me some of the things I asked for, not the way I wanted them, but it gave me a lot that I didn't ask for, that were quite amazing, and I was able to tweak some of the scenes in the script that actually made it funner and better. I think it just added just a little bit extra oomph. But as I'm doing that now, I'm not finding the imagery as good, or I'm not finding that extra little bit that I used to get in the imagery that was the astounding thing that I would latch onto. So I'm going to have a wait and see attitude, and we'll see where it goes. But I think for the writing aspects, I think it still can do that quite well. And you just need to tweak things. Or I'm hoping, because I have such a large catalog of material, that you just slide it right into AI, and it's going to make a first draft film at least, and then take it from there. I think there will be AI experts in the field. The visual aspects of it, the editing aspects, the music aspects. I think there will be individuals that get very skilled at telling AI what to do at the level of almost coding, because I'm seeing that now, where people are actually coding because at that level, to give it the the more of the direction of what it wants. So it's kind of a mixture of the ethereal, of it's going out there and grabbing the ethereal, and then also getting that back, and then working on that to your advantage, to tweak everything. So it's very interesting. But Richard Walter was a big influence on me, and I was brought into his mentorship program. He actually helped me get my first agent. I had done a film without warning, and actually did quite well as far as opening doors, and almost made a $1 million plus sale. It just didn't happen for certain reasons. And that's the business. I've had a number of those, including the sequel to In the Line of Fire. Mine was In the Line of Duty, and it was pretty good. Almost ended up at Colpison at the end, and just was a timing issue. They wanted to switch out into more family-oriented materials. So it happens. I mean, I ran into the same thing. I had two at Dimension that were almost picked up in the same meeting. They had the committee together, and they had just decided previously that they would be same thing. They were going to be leaving the strictly the horror genre that they were in, and going into a broader base. So they weren't looking for horror at the time, believe it or not, Dimension. So it was the same thing, and I said, God, we don't. If it was any other time, Lance, we'd pick up both of these today, but it didn't happen. But anyway, so Richard Walter was a great influence on me, and then the other is Bill Martell, and Bill Martell was a writer from. He did a lot of the early like Showtime originals. I mean, they built a part of their library on Bill. I don't know how many he did, but he did a lot of those, like Crash Dive, Obsession, just a number of them. But he has a book out, and it's really, if you're an action writer, really any kind of writer, but specifically more action, I think you can adapt it to horror, because in some horror there's action aspects, and so I would think it's part and parcel, because when you blend it like an Alien, that's horror but science fiction. So there's a couple other books, and I'll bring those up in later videos, but Bill Martell's book, and I'll have Matt add the imagery in here, it's called Secrets of an Action Screenwriter. And I don't know how many he's sold, but I've moved so many times since I had it back in California. When I lived in Northern California, and then I would go down to LA all the time for meetings and such. So I looked all over. I have a bunch of my materials here, and I don't know why. Like I said, I have some of these, it's the biggest blue Walmart bins you can have, and I have those just chock full of materials that I've accumulated over the years. And I don't know where it is. I mean, I might even have it still. I might have taken it with me to Mexico. I don't know. I'm back here in the States for a little bit. I come back, for 3 months or so every year, sometimes 4. So I'm up here on that kind of hiatus that I take from Mexico. In the Puerto Morelos areas where I hang out there, and the beautiful thing about that is it's kind of reignited me, my creative sides of me, because I was kind of basically retired, and if you're a creator, you're still creating every day, which I was still constantly putting stuff on paper or email. I email my stuff. I just sit there and type out my concepts, and I'll just email to myself. In several email boxes, so I have it, and then I can access it later. But so I do a lot of Latino content with Latino characters, because part of what I did, I was married to a Latina for 30 years, so it's and then was in Bolivia in various things that I'll discuss maybe here in the future. But I had some great adventures there, and that's where these adventures kind of come into play, also for the adventures of Louisa Fortune. And so Bill Martell was a great influence on me, because the Secrets of an Action Screenwriter book is this, you can't get a better book than that, step by step, to tell you how to write an action screenplay, or maybe even an action novel. I mean, the concepts are and the processes are the same. So it's called Secrets of an Action Screenwriter, and Bill Martell, I think he's probably still he was doing seminars for quite a few years. But I consider him, and he kind of, I mean, he's probably one of the top action, he is one of the top action screenwriters and has been, since the 1980s on the planet. He had many times, just like myself and other writers, that are in the business a long time, he just didn't come together for some of the really big actioners. I mean, he's like Die Hard level. He's like, any major actioner. It could be done by Bill Martell, and they should still be hiring him, the studios, as they get back, hopefully they get back to what they do best, and telling great stories, and leaving some of these other things out of it. And I know they talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. All of us writers have been organically doing that forever, but if we choose not to, I mean, if you have a situation where, it isn't required because it's such a closed story with closed characters, or maybe it's just, a situation where you don't have all those other influences. And those are the best stories. As I say, the writer has to write, and the producers should produce what he's written. Yeah, they can have their input and all that kind of stuff. But the whole thing where you have, I'm very much like a writer like Joe Esterhazy, and Joe Esterhazy just sat down and wrote. No one told him how to write or what to write. He's a spec writer, and that's what I am. About 90% of what I do is spec. And I ran into some individuals who says, "You're crazy. Why would you do things on spec? That's dumb. It's a waste of your time, and you should be paid for every single thing you do." And no, all the great things. I mean, all the great novels. No one was paid to write a lot of those. It's just somebody sitting down and writing it. And a lot of the screenplays, like Lethal Weapon, and I mean, it just goes on and on. Your great screenplays, and a lot of horror just comes from somebody just sitting down and having an idea. And 80% at least, and I think it's greater than 80% at least of what is done in Hollywood and television pilots are done on spec, even by A-listers. That's how it's done. So I want to encourage you, if you want to do action, if you want to do horror action, then I would definitely pick up a copy. You get it on Amazon. I will drop the link here, but Bill has been doing this for, I must say, he must be doing it for 40 years, since the 1980s. When I was doing stuff, I met Bill the first time with my friend director Anthony Ferrante, who's still doing a lot of stuff. He's got a new short film coming out where he actually became a diver to dive, and he just brought it up on his Facebook page. So I'll have to see. Can't remember what the name is. I think it was something in the water, obviously, but sharks. So he's a great director, and I may be after him for a piece that they're working on. We've been wanting to work together forever, and we've shared a lot of things. And he's been a great influence on me as well, as far as my scripts, and had me do one on a horror project called Dominus that really. I redid it, and it really updated it and made it so different. It was basically The Exorcist, and a very good Exorcist type of film. But this just she said, standing on its ears, and that's really what I did with that. And it's awesome. That's the one that was one of them that was almost picked up by Dimension. at the time, and I redid it, and it's brutal. It's brutal. It's not gory brutal, but it's psychologically and really, really good. I'm proud of the rewrite that I did in it. But Anthony Ferrante has been a big influence on me, and he introduced me to Bill back there in Antioch when Anthony was just starting to direct and write, and he's a great comic book writer, great everything. He was editor-in-chief. I think it was the mothership for Dean Devlin. And Roland Emmerich, he was the editor-in-chief of that. So Anthony is another big influence, and I still consider him a good friend, and hopefully I can get him in on this project called Apex. We'll see. I think he'd have an absolute blast, and he's a perfect fit for it. So hopefully I can do that. And but he introduced me to Bill, and then introduced me to some special effects props people that helped me make a thing for a script called Pods. That was really cool, and they made. I lost it. It was a giant. It was a pod, almost like less the size of a bowling ball with a big kind of finger claw coming out of it. Large. And it was a cool science fiction horror script. But anyway. I had when Bill Martell finally had out Secrets of an Action Screenwriter. I picked it up. I got it right away, and man, it just helped me tremendously. I mean, I have that book. Like I said, I wish I had it here because I was probably the whole book. You start highlighting sections as a writer that you can key on, especially when you're writing scripts. Go back to it, as a reference tool. But hell, this thing was probably yellow highlighted from the beginning to the end, where I couldn't tell anymore. But by then, my craft was so good, and you'll hear from a number of screenwriters that once you get to a certain level, that it's very natural, your screenwriting. You really don't need to reference too much anymore. You just write by osmosis, the process. It just all comes together. And I daydream. That's my biggest thing. Just daydream. I always have ideas. Always, whether it's an article, whether it's this, whether it's that, whether it's something just pops into my mind, whether I'm driving, whatever I'm doing. Like I said, I'll email it to me. I'll write it down on a quick piece of paper, or I'll email it to myself. I always have a pen around me and a small piece of paper. When I'm in Mexico, I have those little fanny packs, and I always have my pen and my little piece of paper because I never know. I never know when I'm getting inspiration. So, and then I just want something just to jot a little bit of something down so I remember it. And then I'll expand on that when I get back to a computer or on my phone, and email it to myself. So those are some of the things that you can do as a writer. So anyway, everybody. It's just a short video, second part. I want you to pick up Bill Martell's book if you want to be an action screenwriter or action horror screenwriter. Just do it, and it's a great read anyway. So shout out to my friend Bill Martell. Shout out to my friend Anthony Ferrante. And shout out to my friend Latino Slant. He's just such a cool guy, and I want to maybe do something with him because I do a lot of Latino material, etc. And I think I'll go on a show and maybe we'll discuss some of the projects that I have that are for Latino content and the Latino stars, that I dealt with. A couple of them that I was an agent for, and we'll go from there. See you next time on Lance Views. Bye, everybody.